Downtown D.C. is a place where people want to be. This is where we work. This is a place where people live, a place that people come to experience culture, and often, Downtown D.C. is a place to be inspired. I know I am. We're here today not just to be inspired. We're here to talk about Down. We're going to tell a story through data and talk about the forward trajectory of Downtown D.C., looking at the economic landscape through the lens of strength, potential, and opportunity. Why? A healthy downtown makes for a healthy city. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to hear the conversation and the discussion from our panelists, and then I want you to decide. Decide how you are going to contribute. What are you going to invest? And how will you be a part of the forward trajectory of Downtown D.C.?
So are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's get to work. Move from vision to action. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage of Downtown.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage at-large Councilmember Kenyan McDuffie.
Good morning.
Morning.
Man, I thought she got us going a little better than that with a little bit more energy. Good morning. How about that wonderful welcome that we just had? It got my juices flowing. I'm so delighted to be here with this wonderful room today and to get this beautiful day started with you all. It is such a packed house today. And frankly, I was just thinking, talking to Monica, I literally could stay here for about an hour or three and clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks because so many of the people who I'm likely to be talking with are in this room this morning. So give your a round of applause to get us going this morning. This room and the energy that's here this morning is really emblematic of what we're trying to achieve in the District of Columbia today with our neighborhoods and areas that are teeming with enthusiasm, vibrancy, and activity, showcasing really the energy that exists in the District of Columbia. And I want to thank Gerren and his entire team for putting this together this morning. This is going to be a very dynamic gathering. Every day, his team is working incredibly hard to activate the spaces in our downtown, and their entire team plays such a crucial role in contributing to our clean and safe downtown. So let's give Gerren and the folks on his team a round of applause as well. So I think she asked you, were you ready this morning? Are you ready to have a really dynamic, energetic discussion about the state of downtown? Are you? Okay, all right, let's get it going. So quick question. How many of you all are actually gonna leave here in a couple of hours and go to your offices somewhere downtown? Okay, hands down. All right, how many of you all are actually gonna leave here in a couple of hours and go back and work from home, putting on your sweatpants and joining some Zoom call online? All right. So now what I need you to do, all the folks who are in that first category, make some room in your office and invite those folks in the second category to come work from downtown. So as you all know, I am bullish about the District of Columbia right now. I'm bullish about downtown, and I'm also not above a little bit of peer pressure. to try to get folks back into our downtown. Because as you know, if you spend a little time here, you know that the District of Columbia is open. And that is large part because of the messaging and I think the coordination collaboration that has happened within government. And for that, I want to give a recognition to Muriel Bowser, to Deputy Mayor Nina Albert, and the team of her folks on economic development and business. Let's give them a round of applause for the work that they're doing. I also want to recognize my chairman and the chairman of the District of Columbia Council because he is also extending that collaboration, those open lines of communication between government, demonstrating the energy that we have in government to work with the people in this room. So let's recognize Phil Mendelson and my colleagues at the Council of the District of Columbia as well. It's important to make sure we keep those lines of communications open and that the collaboration continues. You're going to see some of that in the budget that gets passed eventually. You see some of that in the budget that was proposed by the mayor. And I won't get into it today, but I look forward to the discussion that's going to happen with the folks who are here today. And thankfully, we have the opportunity to make the best of the challenges that we're facing right now. Won't get into the challenges. You all know the challenges probably a lot better than I do with what's going on downtown. I'm more focused on the opportunities. And if you've got ideas and you're inspired by the opportunity, if you get excited when you leave here and walk past Franklin Park around lunchtime and see it buzzing with energy and people and activity, then I want to find myself in a meeting with you talking about the future of the District of Columbia and what we're going to do together to transform things. Are you all with me? Yeah. Are you all with me? Yeah. Well, let's talk about downtown. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Enjoy the discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage President and CEO of the Downtown DC Business Improvement District, Gerren Price.
Well, I tell you, those are some really rousing welcomes that I feel like I have nothing else to say to you all. That was amazing. But no, let me just officially, on behalf of the Downtown DC Business Improvement District, on behalf of our board of directors, I want to welcome you to the annual State of Downtown Forum. Round of applause for you all. You guys are doing wonderful this morning. You can definitely feel the energy in the room, so I certainly appreciate all that you all bring, not just today, but every day. So thank you so much. First things first, I have to take a moment to thank Councilmember Kenyan McDuffie for his remarks, for his inspiring and encouraging words, the energy and excitement that he has been bringing. Councilmember, your leadership on the Committee for Business and Economic Development could not come at a more crucial time for the future of our city. And I just want to say on behalf of all of the bids and the main streets who you constantly are supporting, thank you for your proven leadership. Thank you for helping to drive sustainable growth for small businesses. And we look forward to continued partnership. And as you talked about, we got to make some things happen for downtown in this year's budget. So we appreciate the work that you're doing and look forward to continued partnership. I want to take a moment just to acknowledge any other dignitaries who are in the room. We have some really just dynamic folks who are here, some who weren't able to make it. I have to acknowledge all 13 members of the DC Council who this year especially have been resolute in their leadership, in their support, in their interest in having engaging conversations about the future of downtown. We certainly appreciate that. And of course, I have to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, who's been a champion for downtown's comeback and the comeback of the entire city, a champion for economic prosperity for all 8 wards. You will hear from her a little later in the program. I also want to thank the amazing team here at the Hamilton Hotel, Mark Driscoll, the regional managing director, and the entire staff and team. Thank you for this beautiful space. Is anybody else just overwhelmed when you walked into this beautiful room? Give a round of applause to the Hamilton and the team here for this beautiful space we're in. This hotel is a historic landmark and a tremendous partner, and so we certainly appreciate the ability to be here this morning for this important conversation. And finally, last and certainly not least, I want to thank every single one of you who are here in attendance, every single resident, every single business owner, property managers, hotel managers, staff and partners and agency leaders who I've seen in this room and have engaged with so far this morning. I want to thank you so much, not just for being here in attendance with us today, but being a consistent daily presence and part of the downtown community. Thank you for showing up every day, being willing to roll up sleeves and tackle really challenging obstacles. And there have been some challenging obstacles and maybe some more ahead, but we're able to tackle them together because we're a community. And we're a community that has focused on making this downtown great and making our city the very best in the world. So thank you to every single one of you who are here. Now, I want to say a little bit more about why we are here today. Today marks the official release of the Downtown D.C. State of Downtown report. This report is accessible on our website, DowntownDC.org. You should also have a copy right here accessible to you, so please enjoy this for your reading pleasure. This annual document has become an annual standing tradition for the Downtown DC BID, and it's an opportunity for us to take a minute to pause and do an objective assessment of what the statistics and what the data points are telling us to help give us an indication of the health and vitality of the overall downtown economy. This forum today is an opportunity to delve deep into this report and to do so with an amazingly diverse panel of experts who are going to share their candid reflections and look to provide some insights about their outlook for the future. Now, I should share with you, just for context setting, the data contained in our State of Downtown report reflects the time period of the full calendar year of 2023, and where noted, portions of the Q1 of 2024. Other context for you to be aware of, when we refer to downtown in our State of Downtown report, we're referring to the Downtown DC Business Improvement District geographic boundaries. For those who are familiar stakeholders, you might know this already, but for those who might be new to the downtown community, that runs the gamut from North Capitol Street, just outside of Union Station, stretching all the way to the White House to the east-west, from just north of the National Mall to the south, all the way up to the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. Now, this area makes up a key portion of what's known as the city's central business district, and it includes some of the city's most iconic streets and cultural destinations, and some amazing hotels, restaurants, and other places of interest, as well as some of the nation's most significant monuments, memorials, institutions, and beautiful parks and plazas, and so much more. So now that you know the context, it is officially time to get to business. And there's so much great information in this report that I'm not going to be able to share it all, but I did want to touch on just a few key takeaways that we want you to consider before we get into our panel discussion. So first things first, let's start by addressing the fundamental question of the day. What is the state of downtown? To put it simply, and this is based on a lot of feedback that we received from stakeholders, the current state of downtown is we are back. Can we give a round of applause to that? We are back. So what do I mean by that? 2023 admittedly felt like a very challenging and difficult year. With some of the sobering developments of that year, particularly in the latter part of the year, the early part of 2024 brought what you could only describe as a demonstrable shift in the energy. We heard from many, many stakeholders who shared that sentiment and who let out a cathartic, collective exhale in the early part of the year to say, yes, we are officially back in the game. And we couldn't talk about the state of downtown without acknowledging the incredible impact of our sports teams remaining in D.C. Thank you to Monumental Sports and all of the city officials and leaders who are instrumental in helping to make that happen. It's important to note that the impact of the Capital One Arena on downtown DC cannot be overstated. In 2023, the arena welcomed a staggering 2 million visitors, reaching levels last experienced during the Washington Capitals' 2018 Stanley Cup winning season. Now, this is more than just attendance numbers. It's about the arena's tangible economic impact. These are real impacts that are felt. The arena generates an estimated $65 million in annual tax revenue for the city. And the expansion investment of $515 million from the city, coupled with private investment from Monumental Sports and Entertainment, sets the stage for a bright and prosperous future. Now let's talk about some more things that are worthy of celebration. It should come as no surprise that people still love coming to downtown. I look around the room and I know many of you love downtown. You love to be here. You love the energy. You love the feel. You love the people that make up this great community. People are coming for entertainment. They're coming for dining, they're coming to shop, for arts, for culture, and just getting away from the everyday norm. Now, if we delve into some of the most significant strengths that the data show us for 2023, it does show that we are unequivocally back in some categories. Tourism is thriving. Hotel revenue in 2023 exceeded 106% of 2019 levels. Our arts and culture scene continues to flourish, with museums experiencing an 18% increase in attendance and performance and arts centers seeing a 12% rise since 2022. And of course, we have to acknowledge our award-winning dining landscape, with 10 new restaurant openings this year alone. Further, Downtown D.C. is leading the nation in office to residential conversions, with 6,000 units complete or in the pipeline. And we know that metro ridership is up. It's up 54% on weekdays and 47% on weekends compared to 2022 levels. All of these things are definitely worth celebrating. But I do want to make sure that we are not missing some of the realities of the challenges that exist. And there are some significant challenges. Specifically, the current commercial office real estate market reinforces that we must reinvest in order to make sure that there's a more diversified, mixed-use future for downtown DC. When we delve into the numbers a little bit more, it shows that office attendance remains at 48% of pre-pandemic levels. So when Councilmember McDuffie put some pressure on those of you planning to go back to your home offices, this is what we're talking about. 48% of where we were pre-pandemic in terms of office workers being in their seats. Our commercial office and retail vacancies have also reached record highs at 22% and 25% respectively. And that is something that should certainly sound an alarm. Now, since the pandemic, downtown's fiscal impact has declined by $122 million. That's $122 million lost in revenue that would have otherwise been generated and support the city's overall budget. When you put that in context, that $122 million, this tough budget year that we're in, and Councilmember McDuffie, I'm looking at you, you know that would solve all these problems that we're wrestling with right now, some of these difficult decisions that have to be made. This is the impact. We have to do something to turn this around. The data's sobering, but it is not a time for despair. Rather, we know it is time for action. We have to do everything that we can to make sure we don't just restore that $122 million back, but that we're doing more to invest in downtown so that downtown continues to generate economic revenue for the city. We know we have a real challenge ahead, but with every single challenge, there is an opportunity. Yes, we're back in the game, but we have to translate those shortcomings into catalysts that will make downtown DC better than ever. Today, we're here to dig into that feeling and to delve into the state of downtown, proving that we are back in the game and poised to win it. We're here to translate those shortcomings so that we can ensure that investment and growth and revitalization will bring us back to the levels we've previously been. The BID took specific action throughout 2023 to address this. We worked very closely alongside the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District, as well as the Federal City Council, on the Downtown Action Plan. This plan proposes a 5-year, $401 million investment strategy that we believe can fuel the reimagination of downtown DC and restore and even increase future tax revenues. We're encouraged by the investments proposed in the mayor's FY25 budget, and this budget must be moved forward as components align with the Downtown Action Plan investments that are within. Now, some of the things that we're most excited about in the mayor's proposed budget, and I wouldn't have time to go through all of them, but these are things that will benefit not just downtown and begin to generate new revenue, but supports residents and businesses throughout all 8 wards of the city. $26 million to implement the BEST Act that'll help to streamline business licensing and make it easier to do business in DC. $50 million in office to residential conversions, helping to catalyze more conversion projects down the line. $3 million in the festival fund to host world-class festivals and events that will continue to attract and draw more and more people to our downtown core. $64 million to support the redevelopment of the federal shelter in downtown DC to support those experiencing homelessness. There's so much more that's integral to downtown's recovery and future success. And I'm here to assure you today that never have we been more poised to win the game than we are now. This is our moment, and this is our time for action. We have to seize the opportunity, work together, and ensure that the state of downtown continues to shine bright for generations to come. Now, one last thing I'll say, there was an article this morning in the Washington Post that reporter Megan Flynn reported on, and I don't know if Megan's in the room, she may be, but really interestingly, you know, when I thought about and heard the opening from my colleague Ebony Walton, and she said, what will we do when we walk out of this room to help ensure that we're part of the solution? This article talked about a somewhat troubling narrative where people are seeing investment in downtown as disinvestment in the rest of the city and disinvestment in the neighborhoods. It's really important that we make it clear. Investment in downtown is good for the entire city. When we talk about the overall economic contributions that downtown makes, collectively, the Central Business District accounts for $2.3 billion of economic activity and revenue. And that makes up a quarter of the city's total overall revenues collected each year. It's imperative that our downtown is healthy and that it's thriving and that we see this as a win for everybody. And we need your help in making sure that that message is made abundantly clear. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking. No more remarks from me. I'm moving strictly into panel mode because we have some amazing experts we are encouraged and excited to hear from. So it is my pleasure to turn now to our panel.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department, Pamela Smith. Ackledge President, Matt Klein. Area General Manager for Sonesta Hotels and Resorts, Meade Atkinson. Owner of Moon Rabbit Restaurant, Kevin Tien. And the principal and co-founder of Dr. Alexander, David Doctor.
All right, are you guys ready to get started? So I joked with the panelists on our prep call that I have a secret dream of being a talk show host someday. Been wanting to do that since I was a kid, so I am just living my wildest dreams right now. So y'all don't know how happy it makes me to be here this morning, but incredibly excited to welcome our panelists. Great introduction, so need not to have names said again, but we are so happy to hear from each and every one of you and look forward to a really robust and rich discussion. There's a lot that we can talk about, but I want to start with a question I'm going to ask for all of you, and I think it would be great if we can sort of popcorn style just right down the row. But obviously, we have released our State of Downtown report today. There's a lot of information contained in it. You all received an embargoed copy a little bit before today's event, so hopefully you had a chance to read it a little bit. But I want to know, the people want to know, what is the single biggest takeaway from the report? Or one major thing that you think people should know coming out of that report? Anybody want to start?
Momentum. I'd say I think there's reading through the report, coming from a baseline, I hope a baseline, and I think we're showing a lot of progress. And I'd say we're seeing it from an activity, we're seeing it from opening, we're seeing it from sales. So the storyline there is playing into the momentum, from my opinion.
Love that, David. Kevin?
I'd say for me is I'm a very glass full kind of guy. And even though we talk about a lot of vacancies, I find this a really great opportunity to rebuild and revitalize downtown into something even better than we can imagine. You know, as someone who signed the lease the same day that the Caps and Wizards announced they were leaving, you'd think I would be worried, but I was still very positive. You know, I've been in business for 3 months downtown, and our business is booming. You know, and it's only going to get better, hopefully, because my lease is 10 years, so.
Love that. Chief Smith.
Good morning. So I think for me, the one word that stands out is revitalization. We have to have our people back in the downtown area, and one of my responsibilities is to ensure that we keep people safe while they're there. And so revitalization sticks out to me. I spent 2011, since I've been in this area, I used to spend a lot of time in downtown because of the culture of the District of Columbia, and being able to sit across on the steps at the Art Museum right across from Capital One Arena. And we need to see that revitalization come back. So I'm in the game and talk about doing something. What is the action? Public safety is certainly a major priority in making sure that we revitalize downtown DC.
Absolutely. And Chief, you have been an instrumental force in helping to make that happen. Your impact has already been felt. This is not usually par for the course for the talk show host. Give a round of applause for Chief Smith on behalf of Matt.
So first of all, I want to see if I can find the pot of coffee that Ebony Walton was drinking earlier today. I think my takeaway was the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I think that there is certainly a lot of data in there that talks about the need for pragmatic realism, that we have some real challenges that we have to solve. And it would be really unfortunate to take our eyes off that ball, right? By the same token, there's a lot of great energy and great ideas. And it's a reminder that we can do big things when people collaborate and come together. And I think whether it's big things like the revitalization of the arena or the strong other investment elements that are riddled through the mayor's budget, whether it's the conversion, the support for office to residential conversions, the office to anything that the deputy mayor talks very thoughtfully about, to little things like, Director Hanlon talking about support for pop-up retail. There's just a lot of great substance that collectively will really help build that momentum.
Absolutely, that's spot on. Mead.
I think David stole all my ideas. What came out of it for me is how dependent we are on each other from an industry standpoint. Hotels rely on commercial office buildings, who rely on retail space, et cetera. So I think, the only way to get through this is to work very closely together, and we need leaders like yourself, Gerren, and others to pull us together and make sure we're looking at the common target and the common goal. I'd say that's my takeaway.
Love that. Really great breadth of opinions here. So really appreciate those great takeaways from all of our panelists. I want to ask, and this is open for any of you, was there any, there's lots of statistics, lots of data points in this report. Was there any one statistic or one thing that you read that shocked you, surprised you, or maybe really resonated with you and made you say, we need to look a little deeper into this, or we need to see what's behind that number?
One thing that stood out to me was, the return to office at 48% of what pre-pandemic, but if you look at the federal government being about 25%, and you look at some other cities' recovery with private sector being around 80%, right? There's a delta there that's apparent and missing. Private sector's back around 48%. We're missing 25% of federal. That's notable, I'd say. So there's some things that are outside of necessarily control right now, but I think that was a noticeable call out.
Did that strike anyone else in any sort of way to see that 48% number? Did you think it was more or less?
Less.
But less.
I think it's on par with what we're feeling. The number that jumped out to me, and I need to unpack with Jerry in some way, is there's a number in the report that talked about there being 9,500, I think, new office-using jobs in downtown in 2023 versus 2019, right? If you roll that or do the math into what that would typically mean relative to net new demand for office space, that's a couple million feet, maybe even more. And we're in flat net absorption, and that might even be optimistic for more than 10 years now. So the disconnect between job growth and the health of the office market, net absorption in particular, that disconnected around 2015, and we hadn't seen that ever before. So just the idea that there has been job growth in office using jobs in downtown over these 4 years was a surprise.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack in that number. I think it says a lot about some of the changes in how people are approaching work and the styles in which people are engaging in hybrid versus not hybrid and contracting office sizes. Matt, you're obviously an expert in the commercial real estate market. Love to delve a little deeper into some of those numbers with you. Specifically, the report reveals some challenges. We talked about two that were really concerning, but one being that high vacancy rate. So we're now at 22%. We've heard from some folks who've said, perhaps we've reached the bottom. Others who've said maybe it's going to get worse. Some who are hopeful that it gets better. Where do you think we stand? And is there a path forward in the commercial office space?
First of all, if you think you're an expert in commercial real estate right now, I think you're probably drinking something else other than what Ebony was drinking. I think the commercial vacancy rate right now is at 22%. The CFOs, who lately has not been known for being optimistic or not being pessimistic enough, said that that's going to grow to 26% by 2026. I think that 22% has a trend towards towards a higher vacancy, lower occupancies, just as people resize their space. We have a lot of really smart architects in the room here that can speak more thoughtfully to what businesses are doing, but most of the clients that we see in our projects are reassessing how much space that they need. They're not leaving downtown. They're just saying, it reminds me of what law firms went through 15 years ago when they said instead of being 350 or 400 square feet per attorney, we're going to be 225. And that took an enormous chunk of inventory out of the real estate market relative to the demand side. I think we're going through that same thing. It'll take us another 5 or 6 years to get through this resizing, and it's going to be painful, right? We should be real about that, and that's going to see a continued drop in what assessed revenues are going to land with the CFO.
Absolutely. Just one follow-up to that. There's obviously a lot of excitement and energy around the concept of those conversions. The city has several, the existing housing and downtown tax abatement program. There's a proposed additional support in this year's budget cycle to help make more conversions happen. What's your take on the potential around conversions? Is that a way to get out of some of this or to help address some of the supply demand issues that we're facing? What are the concerns there?
So we should be realistic about how hard office to residential conversions are. We've done a very large one of converting the 600,000 square foot Coast Guard headquarters to 480 residential units. It's tough, there are hidden costs, and the tax abatement program is essential, but it's not enough, right? We need to make sure that we're adding to the toolkit of those that want to make those office to residential conversions. Obviously, the built environment is incredibly important. But the opportunity, the multiplier effect of actually making that happen by removing inventory and creating a mixed-use urban environment is enormous, right? So it's worthy of ongoing effort and attention. I love this idea that's in the budget about office to anything and a property tax freeze. I think that was a really smart add by the mayor into this budget discussion, and it's a reinforcement that there's smart people putting good ideas on the table.
Absolutely. Mead, I want to bring you into this conversation a little bit as we talk about conversions. You represent the Royal Sonesta. We had an amazing opening of a beautiful hotel. If you have not been, you're missing out, just outside of Union Station on Mass Avenue. And this was a project that was a partial office conversion. Congratulations on the opening. Can you share a little bit about the project? What made this happen? What's been going well? What were some of the challenges you faced? And tell us how it's going.
Great. Well, it's going well, but there's still space in 2025 if anybody has their meetings that they'd like to bring. But this was a project that where RMR took 20 Mass, which was an 8-story 1970s government building, turned it into an 11-story multi-use hotel, office space, and retail. We opened in September. I think we're very fortunate that there hasn't been a new hotel on Capitol Hill in 40 years. And so we are leaning heavily into that. A lot of excitement in the neighborhood. But we have open office space. It has not leased yet. Same with retail. And so I can see it from both sides. One of the things that surprised me in the report was how well hotels are doing in the bid.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing as well outside of the boundaries. And hotels rely so much on business travel, which if you're home in your sweatpants, you're not doing, that we have to find other ways to fill rooms. And one of the things that we're very proud of is that about a year and a half ago, we came together with Hotel Association, Destination DC, and put together a Tourism Recovery Act, which the council passed and everyone supported. And it's been a big deal for our ability to market Washington, D.C. It's given Destination DC, who are the pros at this, $20 million additional dollars to go for the international traveler, which are the high spending tourists, and then lots of money domestically as well. Some of you may have seen there's only one DC campaign. I think it's great, and we're really excited about it. It's an example of taking some action after a really difficult 3 years.
Absolutely. Really appreciate that take. I love there's only one DC campaign. So major thanks to Destination DC for a really awesome campaign. If you haven't seen it yet, please make sure you're checking that out. It's really inspiring. Mead, you mentioned just the good performance of hotels within the downtown bid geography specifically. What do you think accounts for that is sort of part one of my follow-up to you? And I would say part two is we were trying to understand some of the numbers. You know, the sales figures show that revenues are up, greater than pre-pandemic levels. Is some of that like inflation issues? Is this a real profitability, or is there something else behind the number that we're not seeing?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. I think I do know that occupancies from pre-pandemic are still not where they were. Hotels are trying to make up for it in other ways through average rate, and there's not a big appetite for adding amenities, which probably is why we see employment slightly down in that sector that I read about in the report. But we are, trying to be very creative about where we can drum up new business, whether it's through conventions, through special events that we're thrilled to see that you're involved in as well as a bid. And we're also very excited to have Monumental Sports stay in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. Excellent. I appreciate that, Mead. I want to turn conversation a little bit in a new direction and talk a little bit about public safety. 2023 was a year where public safety was probably the single most important issue for every single stakeholder who we engaged with. And I'm looking around the room, and some of you, I know we've had long conversations this year about public safety and strategies. Recent data shows some promising drops, specifically in violent crime. Chief Smith, we want to know, what is your take on the current state of public safety in downtown? Well,
first of all, thank you, Gerren. I know we've certainly been in great partnership since I've been in this space since last year of July. Currently, right now, today in the downtown bid, we have a 50% reduction in violent crime in comparison to this same time last year. And I will say this, as much as we'd like to be in celebration mode, there's still a lot of work for us to do from the public safety perspective. What I will say is that we are trending in those directions, not just because it's a Metropolitan Police Department strategy approach, but it's certainly because of the partnerships that we see in this room and the collaboration that we have with all of the downtown bids. It's really, really important to me that those conversations continue. I will put a plug in there just a little bit for Monumental Sports, because I'm an active sports fan, and I was very, very happy to know that Monumental Sports is staying in the area. But I also know that there were some things that we needed to do differently in the space of public safety in downtown. And so arriving in this space when crime was at an all-time high last year, and hearing the frustration and the feeling that people don't feel safe in DC was certainly my number one priority. I used to travel, and I think I alluded to that before, I used to travel back and forth from New York to DC all the time on the train. Sometimes I would drive up just to take resident, if you will, in some of the amazing culture that's here in DC. And so being in the space as the chief of police, it was my responsibility to make sure that we were doing everything we were doing in collaboration with not just the downtown bid, but also with our communities to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the crime safety perspective. What does that look like today? And we talk about the downtown bid, but when we look at our numbers and our data for overall crime in the District of Columbia, we are down 25% 25% this same time year to date last year. Today, 25% reduction in violent crime. We have a 14% reduction in property crime and an overall 14% reduction in crime all across DC within this first quarter. Again, it is attributed to our strategies and new strategies that we're putting in place. What I took the time to do initially coming into this position was to really hear from the community members, hear from the businesses, the residents and tourists even, to determine what do you need from MPD as a whole. I know that the work around public safety is not limited to just one agency. There is an ecosystem approach to it. And one of the things that was really critical for me in downtown was making sure that we had and I actually asked for a police station in Gallery Place. And, you know, our mayor is amazing. She is the #1 and the biggest supporter when it comes to public safety. And public safety is certainly a priority of hers. And she took a lens to say, that's great, Chief Smith. I think that's a good idea. But why don't we add another component to it? Department of Human Services. Why don't we add the layers in there for behavioral health so that there is an all-encompassing approach when we think about public safety? Because I know, just I'm sure as you've seen, homelessness, and we've seen individuals who are suffering from mental health challenges. And so now we have wraparound services in those areas. And there are still 2 other areas across the district that we're looking to focus on to enhance a presence. One of the other things that was really, really critical was that you wanted to see more officers. I wanted to see more officers, to be honest. And for me, it was really about going to the basics of policing. I have 26 years in law enforcement. I mean, I want to see police officers on foot patrol. I want to see police officers on bicycles. And I'm just going to throw this out there. You will see officers on horse mounted here in a few moments. And that's really critical when we have crowds and when we're dealing with First Amendment activities and demonstrations, to be able to have the crowd management piece utilizing our horse mounted patrol officers to really re-engage in that space. And so for me, it was really critical to do that. But more importantly, trying to change the culture, right? I come from the outside. It's a shift sometimes coming into a space. But what I will say is that the members of the Metropolitan Police Department are just as much passionate about driving crime down as you are wanting to see crime go down. There is this perception, and I'll say this, people say they don't feel safe. But I believe perception is a person's reality. When you say you don't feel safe, then that means to me that I have to do something in order to ensure that the members of the District of Columbia feel safe, especially in our business areas, our business districts. This is an area where people come from all across the country to be a part of the District of Columbia. And so for me, it was really, really critical, even with monumental sports, making sure that we have an enhanced presence, Nats Park, Audi Field, and there's some other sports venues around, ESA Arena, making sure that we have a presence when you come out of those spaces, when you walk into those spaces, you see officers present. It is my hope. It is my hope that you're starting to feel the difference and you're starting to feel the shift. There's still more things that we need to do, and I'm very laser focused on our data. Our team is laser focused on our data. As a matter of fact, right now they're in crime briefing and I'm here. It was important to me to shift the culture of our leadership team. And this is what you're seeing now. And I say this, time when we were only addressing crime 1 day a week, right? 5 days, listen, crime happens every day. And we have to be mindful of the fact that the District of Columbia is not a space where crime will not happen from time to time, but how we address it makes the difference. How you see us in that space is what makes the difference. And then how I lead my team and knowing that you better know your crime in your district. If I ask you at 2 o'clock in the morning, I need to know that you know your crime. And so what you're seeing is a shift. Our commanders are phenomenal. And I really have to, I'm saying it, I come from the outside, but we have true crime fighters in the space of policing here at the Metropolitan Police Department. And I implore each of you, continue to collaborate with us, continue to partner with us, continue to talk to us about what you're seeing, because what that does is it helps me to be able to strategize and come up with different initiatives so that we can address crime collectively. Thank you.
Wow. Chief Smith, Chief Smith, that was absolutely remarkable. You also stole a lot of my thunder, so I don't have any other questions to ask you. You said it all. No, that was fantastic. No, we really appreciate it. The one follow-up I'd ask you, you're in a room that is full of a lot of really passionate downtown DC stakeholders. We always demand a lot from our city officials and from our police officers and public safety professionals. What do you need from us to help make things better, to help ensure safety in downtown?
Thank you for saying that, because you know what? I think people think my work phone is, I think they think I'm their personal chief of police, to be honest. People call me out, and listen, I don't mind, to be honest. I don't mind, because when you call me, I wake up the other folks that make sure that they do the job that you're asking me to do. But what I need is for you to continue to support us in this space. There was a time in 2020 where communities across the United States chose not to have a positive relationship with law enforcement. And right now, just as much as you need us, we need you. We need you to show up at our community meetings within our respective districts. When we're conducting community walks, we want you to be in those spaces. Why? Because you have the best information about what's happening in your particular area than we do. And I say that because I walk around a lot of times. I sit in your businesses and restaurants. I come incognito. Then some of you recognize who I am, and I don't mind being disturbed. But the reason why I do it is because when I take off this uniform, I am a resident of the District of Columbia. And when I intentionally go to different places that I've never been and I've never sat in, because I want to see what you see. I want to feel what you feel. And if it doesn't feel safe for me, I don't have an entourage around me everywhere I go. I tell my team to stand down, because I can't feel what you feel if I have officers around me everywhere I go. Now, don't get it twisted. Yeah. They'll come when they're called, and they're not too far away. But I have to. But I can't feel what you feel if I'm not in the spaces that you're in. And it's really important to me that you continue to speak to us. When you see our officers on the street, tell them thank you. If you feel that we're shifting the culture and tell them thank you, because I can tell you right now, there is an insurmountable amount of work that comes with this position. But what I do, and I make it my business every single day to get out of my chair, either get on an elevator, go up and down the different floors, just to say thank you, not just to the police officers, but to the professional staff as well, because we can't do the job that we do unless we have the people behind the scenes doing the work. And I'll close out by saying that we can't do the job that we do without the support from every person in this room. When we have different events, come and support us in those spaces. When we're at the convention center hosting a women's conference, come and support us in that space. When we're just standing on a corner being visible for a special event, a parade, or whatever is happening in the District of Columbia, World Pride is coming here. We own public safety when it comes to that. I want to see all of you in that space helping us to keep the District of Columbia safe. So thank you so much for just the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing in public safety. Absolutely. And let me say on behalf of everyone in this room in the Downtown DC, thank you, Chief Smith. Thank you to the Metropolitan Police Department and all the hardworking staff to make this happen. So I have been derelict in my host duties and looking solely at this side of the panel, but I'm going to flip a little bit and go this side because you too represent a really important segment that we want to talk a little bit about, restaurants and retail. Kevin, I'll start with you. You alluded to it when you did your opening, but your announcement to open your amazing establishment, Moon Rabbit, again, if you have not been, you're missing out. And you did it at a time when, if we're being really honest and candid, we're amongst friends, there was a lot of bad news and a lot of negativity in the media about downtown and its future. What made you so confident that this was the right place and this was the right time?
When I was looking for a new home for Moon Rabbit, I walked over 30 restaurant spaces, and I went into restaurant spaces in Virginia, Maryland, every single neighborhood in DC. And I walked those neighborhoods morning, afternoon, and night. And I did it, every day for like 6 months. And the only one that felt right was Downtown DC. Downtown DC also felt safest, because, in my industry, we all get off work after midnight. Me and my staff, we walk to our cars or walk to the metro like between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. And I never had any concerns about safety. I never had any concerns about business. the energy felt right, the business felt right. You know, it was our location is a great intersection for tourism, local like offices who come to our happy hours. So thank you for those who come to our happy hours. And we're also a restaurant that like people drive in from Virginia and Maryland to visit. You know, I have guests that fly in from California and they come straight to our restaurants. I have guests that now come in from Bethesda, and a lot of the comments I've heard from residents in all the surrounding areas, like, we're so happy to be back down in downtown DC. Downtown DC feels great, it feels safe. And they're like, we're looking forward to having more businesses like myself to like bring it back. So as someone who like is not the chief of police or the head of a hotel or big property developments, I'm the person that actually like feels these changes, and I can tell everyone in the room that these are all things that are happening. Very new to lease, like I said, I'll be there for at least 10 years, hopefully 10 more, but not a lot of like landlords are great. I've negotiated with so many, but like working with Ackridge and Gerren downtown, and everyone has been so supportive of like small local businesses, businesses of color, right? And I've seen these panels in the past, and it's great to see such a diverse panel up here. And as someone who comes from a refugee family and is very young, you find yourself very hard to be in spaces where your voice can be heard. But being only here for like 90 days downtown, a lot of people in higher up in important spaces have personally reached out and say, what can we do to support you? So I can say that, all of this forum is not a farce, but they are actually here to like rebuild downtown and support new and upcoming businesses.
Oh, man, Kevin, that was really inspiring, and it certainly resonates with me, just the experience that you've had. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for betting on downtown and believing in it, and you're such an important part of the culture and the vibe that makes it so special. So thank you for that. You did touch on a fact, the culinary scene is still a really major driver for the success of downtown, and it's one of the sectors that's performing really well. We also know it's a time when the industry is facing a lot of challenges. There's rising costs, there's different requirements on labor. Just want to get your take on, as a new establishment in downtown, what is that like? Are there any challenges that you're dealing with, and what do you think is needed to help advance in that space?
Restaurants are not for the faint of heart. Everything is challenging, rising food costs, labor costs. But I think the one thing that really helps us kind of get through this is like open and clear communication, not just between like restaurants and other businesses, but between like city officials about what we need to like, make it through. We made it through COVID, now we're like post-COVID, and we're in this amazing like growth stage, and everyone like really working together. Sometimes there can be a huge disconnect from like this team to that department to this official, but I think like clear communication really will help a lot of local restaurants, especially from like restaurant to restaurant. I think it's a lot of like new energy of like changing how we run our businesses and business models. I know there's been a lot of talk about like service charges, and that's like a very like hot topic right now in the industry. And, I think small business owners are doing the best they can, and everything that we do, we feel is the best way for our business to move forward. But I think a lot of the expectation and perception that needs to change is like, things are very expensive now, Like, for example, I used to buy oxtails all the time. They were like, supermarkets were like giving it away, and now they're like $30 a pound, right?
True, yes.
And that's the same for like flour, eggs, milk, like basic commodities that you'd think that, everybody should have access to, but those are like some of the most expensive things now, So I think everyone just needs to like realize like eating out costs more, and that like, restaurants are doing the best they can to like support themselves and support the staffs that they bring on.
Really appreciate that, Kevin. And I can attest as the husband to a Jamaican wife that oxtail has absolutely gotten way too. So I can confirm that 100%. No, thank you so much. And I do want to say thank you too, just for your involvement on the Chinatown Gallery Place Task Force. I think it's important just to note that that is a key part of the story to downtown's recovery, and your involvement, participation, passion has been so helpful. So thank you for that. David, I want to make sure to get you in this conversation as well. We talked a lot about retail in the report, and one of the things that was really interesting is that our luxury retail category in downtown is doing very well, largely attributed to the success of the city center development. But we think about retail and ground floor retail throughout the rest of downtown. We hit a really alarming number. The data shows we're at 25% ground floor retail vacancy, which is a concern. And certainly that has an impact on the feel of the neighborhood and how people perceive it. So my question to you, being a broker that's in this space and this is what you do for a living, how much of this is a downtown problem? How much of this is retail trends have changed overall? And is there any hope? What do we do to help get out of where we are now into a better place ahead?
So retail has changed, and I think retail is ever evolving. Downtown surely has real pressure, right? 70% of the inventory is commercial. Downtown was historically a service retail market. Retail now has changed where that was buying a commodity item was easy. Now you can go into Amazon and buy a commodity item. So retail has shifted, but there is a lot of hope in retail, specifically for the experience, the cultural element, the immersiveness of retail. So for example, look at the neighborhoods, right? Georgetown's come back incredibly strong. There was a lot of vacancy in Georgetown. There was a lot of legacy retail that didn't necessarily work. And now you have a lot of new brands that have come into that market. You look at Capitol Riverfront, look at a number of different neighborhoods of Bethesda that's primarily driven by residential. Some of the suburban markets that are primarily driven by residential, they've come back very strong. And so from that lens, retail is performing well. Come to downtown, it's a different story. And again, there's an opportunity. We have over 3 million square feet of retail in downtown. It's a large, super regional mall, the opportunity. I think there is a unique window to play into the evolution of retail for downtown in the fact that it is entertainment, right? The first thing that we need to do, and Police Chief Smith has done a fantastic job, is safety. Right, I think we've all said it, but that's our benchmark, that's our bottom line. It has to be safe. So if we establish safety and keep going, because it's going in the right direction. I was saying I was out on 7th Street last week and 3 officers came down. I was on it just felt noticeably different. It was fantastic. So keep that going, because once that's safety there, right? 20 years to build a reputation, short to lose it. Let's make sure we hold on to the reputation and we get that back as being safe. So set that as the benchmark. Safety's there, then it has to be fun. And that's the difference on retail right now. So people don't need to be in the office, they want to be in the office. They have to have an experience, you have to be an amenity. And so if you look at downtown, 3 million square feet, we have 40% vacancy on F Street, right? Ton of vacancy. Yeah. There is an opportunity to repurpose that space and infuse it with activity, infuse it with entertainment, infuse it with food and beverage. There are a host of new concepts. And if you look at our anchors and the bones of what the drivers are, they're fantastic. Monumental staying, right? $800 million investment. It's incredible. You have the metro lines that serve super regionally and nationally. There's nowhere else in the market that has the ability to have that drawing power. You look at the museums, right? And then you look at the inventory. So it's there, the drivers are there. We have to put the pieces together and be very thoughtful. And I think infusing it with fun, keeping our safety there and then infusing it with fun. And there's a real opportunity, and that's happening. I mean, with what Kevin's done, you have a flight club opening up at Brookfield's property at 655 New York. You have H&M doing a global flagship at the Woodies, repositioned for 15 years. You have Mango coming in. You have a number of entertainment, right? The new world of entertainment that is looking for an opportunity to come downtown, because downtown is the spot that you can get regional attraction. You're drawing from 7 million people regionally and then nationally, and then you have 20 million tourists that are coming in. So the drivers are there, the pieces are there. Keep it safe. We bring in experiential retail, and hopefully that also attributes to attracting more people to wanting to be downtown and helps fill some of the office spaces.
Absolutely. David, thank you so much. You really touched on just the whole opportunity that really exists in the challenge that we see today. So I really appreciate that. We have come to the end of time for this panel. So I'm going to just ask that we give a huge round of applause and thank you to our panelists who are here right now. But wait, there's more. As this panel exits to the left, we have a second panel that'll be coming on stage, right? So stay tuned. If this was an actual TV show, we take a commercial break while we do this change. So bear with us as we make the change, and we will welcome our next set of panelists. Thank you so much again to all on this panel. Good stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, Nina Albert. President and Executive Director of the National Building Museum, Eileen Fuchs. President of External Affairs and Chief Administrative Officer for Monumental Sports and Entertainment, Monica Dixon. And the Development Associate for Willowbridge, McLean Fonfield.
All right, welcome back from our commercial break. No, just kidding. We are so excited to have this next set of panelists here. We have some great questions that we want to dive into. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to ask that same question I asked the first group. What is your single biggest takeaway or something that you believe is just a major thing that people should get from the State of Downtown report? Anybody want to start?
I'll start, yeah. I mean, the momentum and the resiliency and all the things that our colleagues in the first panel said, I mean, I think I'll just throw in vibe, identity, all the pieces that we need to create a dynamic cultural destination and dynamic downtown are there. I feel really, really positive about that coming out of the report.
Absolutely. Deputy Mayor.
Well, they got a lot of the things that struck me got mentioned on the last panel. I didn't know that in downtown crime was down 42%. And that's before we attributed the stats that we have for this year in 2024. This conversation about crime, I think, is incredibly important because there's that perception reality blend that is confusing what our economic opportunity is going forward, or it's hindering it, or it's just creating a space. And so just being fact-based, being data-based is what matters, particularly for that particular aspect. The other thing I didn't really appreciate is that there's 600,000 square feet of luxury restaurant. So I've self-proclaimed myself as the foodie mayor, or deputy mayor. So I'm gonna live up to that. I'm gonna visit all 600,000 square feet of that luxury restaurant space before this year's over. So that was like a pretty remarkable number and pretty exciting. So those were the two that really came to mind, totally reflecting self-interest.
Thank you so much. Monica, how about you? What was your big takeaway?
Oh, I shared a lot of the same observations that have already been made about the opportunity that exists. But the thing that really rang it home to me is something that is obvious, but wasn't necessarily for myself, is the number of people that are so close to us on the National Mall every single day, the 20-some million people who are 4 blocks away from Capital One Arena that could be part of the downtown community. And Nina has inspired us to be thinking about how do we draw them up from the mall? How do we draw them into the downtown space all the way to the convention center? And for me, that's a big piece of the opportunity that I assume we'll talk a little bit about today, but that has been on the minds of the Gallery Place Task Force, which we are deeply inspired by their work and the work that the Deputy Mayor is doing to bring brand new ideas, things that are cutting edge in other cities and other communities into downtown to take advantage of that great market that exists just a few blocks away.
That's awesome. McLean, what's your big takeaway?
So the report emphasizes that the engine of downtown is back, but there's still a lot more to do. And for myself, I'm manager of 2 office residential conversions downtown. And of the 6,000 units in the pipeline, this is only about 58% of what downtown needs in order to reach the 15,000 resident goal by 2028. So just that, although there's so many positives, there's still a lot more to do.
Yeah, really profoundly said. I appreciate that, McLean. I want to dig in with some questions for our panelists. I'm going to start with you, Deputy Mayor Albert. When we reflect on 2023, 2023 was a year where we said, it's not a surprise. There were a lot of challenges and frustrations and concerns shared by many stakeholders throughout downtown and the city at large. But it does seem like 2024 has been this jolt of fresh air and new momentum. I believe you've played a tremendous role in that, so thank you for your leadership and vision thus far, and that of the mayor. I want to know, having come in now and being able to look back a little bit, what's your reflection of the state of downtown for 2023? What's your personal sort of take on that? And then what are you most excited about now and for the future?
That's a crazy loaded question, Gerren. So I've been in this job for just about 6 months now. And I promised that when I stepped into it that I would spend 90 days listening. And so I listened, and I just got a barrage of anxieties, concerns, worries coming out of 2023. I think Chief of Police said it best. The people who know the circumstance and the solutions are those of you who are experiencing it. You have an individual portfolio, you have an individual building, you have an individual restaurant or business, you have an individual community concern. You know what's going on the ground better than I do. So after 90 days, I just said to everybody, no more complaining or talking about what's wrong. Now I need you to tell me what we need to do. And that's what the engagement for the past couple months have been, is people coming forward with what needs to be done. And so I've really started to categorize things. I mean, I just want to acknowledge the work that you did in the Downtown Action Plan, because what I'm about to say is reflected in that Downtown Action Plan and packaged in a way that's a little bit more digestible for most people. One is that there is a fix-it agenda. There are things that within the government we need to take responsibility for, making it easier to do business in the district, making it more affordable to live in the district, and creating a plan and a vision for how we navigate, this next 5 to 10 years. Because repositioning, certainly an entire neighborhood, it's a mega neighborhood. It's a super block. It's a super neighborhood that you've got here in downtown. And to reposition it cannot be haphazard. It needs to be incredibly intentional. And so that is what my agenda is. It's how to make it easier to do business in the District of Columbia. I'm incredibly fortunate that the mayor has a cabinet that is equally committed to that. And Brian Hanlon's here, a former colleague, a personal friend, and a great leader at the Department of Buildings. The chief of police, who I have a personal girl crush on, totally inappropriate to say in public, but I've gone now on a couple walking tours with her, and she's amazing. She's amazing because you heard her. Did you hear the pastor come out in her? I love that too. She also likes to talk with her hands. I've been observing. I watch people all the time, kind of pick up little habits. And so now I'm trying to talk with my hands a little bit too. Anyway, what's my point? I got lost. But there are colleagues, the cabinet that Mayor Muriel Bowser has put together is committed to this, is committed to business efficiency and operations. And that is about making it easier for Kevin to do business in the District of Columbia. So there's that fix-it agenda. But to me, what I think I'm learning now is reintroducing into our thought process place-based solutions. And that's where the partnership with the BID comes in. The CBD, the Central Business District, in the district now you have to be specific. Right. The Central Business District now is no longer a monolith. We need to be delivering curated experiences so that people can experience that delight, that entertainment, I think, that one of your panelists used. And I say that all the time. So now is a time for us to be taking what we're learning from the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force, which is a place-based set of solutions that's comprehensive about how that entire ecosystem works, how it works as an entertainment district, how it could work as a neighborhood that hosts people and residents, and expand that now to the other parts of downtown, to the other parts of the Golden Triangle BID, so that what we're able to deliver and what we're able to curate, we can go then and market. And frankly, what in my role, yes, there's a lot of externally facing work that I do, But the internal work that we have to do is one, make it easier to do business, and two, restore investor confidence. And that is, again, something that you in this room know how to do and know where you need the government and government officials to show up, because that's kind of the tip of the spear. And so I'm focused in a lot of different areas. Externally, you'll hear me talk about, where we need to go generally in our economy. What I really think the work that only the government can do in partnership with you is, again, just making it easier to do business. The council's been a great partner over the past year, and we'll continue to work together on different priorities in that realm. But again, I'm really focused next on how do we make sure that the doom loop of other cities is not our story, because we're an extraordinary city with extraordinary assets that are unparalleled. You can't duplicate what's in the District of Columbia, what the role of the District of Columbia is to this country and to this world. I mean, we are the capital, not just of the nation, but of the free world. That's what people think of us as. And so we need to step into that limelight, into that spotlight, and make sure that people know what the opportunities to do business are here. I could talk a lot. I'll stop.
No, I appreciate it. Everything you're saying resonates so deeply, I'm sure, with everyone in this room. This is an extraordinary community, and we're an extraordinary city. And I want to say you're doing an extraordinary job. So thank you for your intentionality. Thank you for listening. I may have contributed to some of the frustrations and anxieties you were getting when you first came on board. But thank you so much for the action that's now taking place as well. With that being said, I want to turn to Monica Dixon with Monumental Sports. We talk about action and resolute decision making. I think you could literally hear the screams and shouts of excitement from people around the region when the announcement was made that the teams are staying through 2050. We're incredibly excited about that, and I think many people are excited about what that means for the future. We know there's major improvements planned for the arena itself. We know there's a lot happening now for visioning for the neighborhood. We'd love to hear from you. How does that play into your vision for the future of Monumental Sports, and what does it mean for downtown?
Great, thank you. I'm happy to talk about what the renovation, the transformation will be like, but I must first thank all of you. I think that what happened in the 3.5 months that we were considering our partnership elsewhere was that this community made incredible changes downtown. The council, and I will say to Councilman McDuffie, you were so helpful. Even after the announcement, he was in our office talking to us about what is needed, what can we learn, where do we go next? And those conversations were critical to our decision. The chief was also in our building, talking with Ted, talking with us all the time. And I think having just heard from Nina, how effective she was and is for the mayor and for this city. The conversations during the 3.5 months were not just Ted and the mayor, though those were very important. It was the work that the BID was doing to create $401 million worth of recommendations to make downtown a more hospitable place for business. I don't think that without all of that collective work, we would be able to be so excited and to be celebrating what we know is going to be critical for downtown. We believe the arena is really the workhorse of the downtown area. Our job is to bring people in, make them happy, have them spend time in your businesses on our streets downtown and bring life to this community. We have 2 million people in and out of our building on a regular basis. With the renovations that we have planned, we hope that will grow even more. We're going to make it easier for people to get in and out of the building. Many of you have had to wait in line outside of F Street. We're going to open up major entrances and exits in different locations around the building, including the Gallery Place addition that we were able to work out with the mayor and the developer of that building. So you will be able to get in easier. We're going to have additional escalators to get you right to the places that you want to be. We're going to have enhanced food offerings. One of the challenges of having a building that's almost 27 years old is that there's one central kitchen where almost everything is created. What we will be doing is creating an opportunity for chefs to actually make their incredible cuisine on the spot and serve it to you. And we know Ted has heard from fans across the DMV. He just sent an email out and asked for feedback. What we're hearing is new food offerings, great food offerings, and that's on our agenda. But the other thing we want to be able to do is create spaces for people to be in community with each other. That's outdoors, and we're inspired by Nina's work with the task force to create spaces outdoors for that. But we're going to create those spaces indoors as well. If you want to meet a friend, you won't have to have your meals standing up in the concourse during a game. We're going to have couches and meeting spaces, tables and chairs for you to be with your friends and colleagues who happen to be in the building or for a game or a concert. So we're incredibly excited about the energy we can bring to downtown, but also the great experience we believe we'll be offering our fans and guests.
That is awesome. Monica, you just made me so excited. I'm going to figure out how I can get season tickets or something. This is exciting. I think everyone is really excited about the future of what the arena improvements mean and just the continued role that the arena and the sports teams will play in the community. We look forward to continued partnership on that as well. Eileen, I'm going to turn to you for a moment here. The National Building Museum is a cultural institution. We talk about iconic museums and spaces where people feel drawn to downtown, and you are a major part of that story. One of the key success drivers that's highlighted in the report is around visitation and visitors who are coming to experience arts and culture.
Yep.
So let's talk about the museum. What do you see as your role in helping to facilitate that in the future? What are some big and bold ideas you have for how the museum continues to play a driving force in bringing people to downtown?
I don't know how much time you have. I'll try to keep this succinct. I think at the very top level, there is a synergy and a symbiotic relationship. When arts and culture are thriving, a downtown is thriving. When downtown is thriving, arts and culture is thriving. And arts and culture brings that credibility, that visibility, that identity, not to mention tourism dollars and the what we're doing downtown, to the downtowns that we inhabit and that we shape. And so, of course, the presence of the museum, physically presence, and the brand needs to be contributing collaboratively to the entire dynamic reimagining of the downtown. Now, the National Building Museum, we are a national museum, but we are a treasured local institution like so many other of the amenities and the cultural and culinary amenities in the district are. And so for us, it's like to have that those long branches, I always say need to have deep roots. And like those roots, we need to be rooted in the community, and serving and attracting repeat regional visitors. Now, I completely agree with the opportunities we have to pull in more tourism, but the National Building Museum, 70% of our visitors are from the DMV region. Why is that good news? It's because that level of repeat visitation, that's what creates that. You habitualize people who are going to have that preference, a desire just to go downtown, because downtown, they know they can rely on something. It's cool to do there. That is that authentic, homegrown feeling that I believe that we can build in downtown. That's already there. That's already exciting. For the museum, we look at our target audiences. One of those are families. So for us, the past year, we opened up an exhibit using Legos called Brick City, and then we opened up another exhibit called Building Stories. Our visitorship is up 65%. This past quarter, we're down only 5% because we are creating something that is consistent. Our memberships are going up because people know, I can go there and it's reliable and it's cool, and I know I can do something with my family. That type of interacting and collaboration to leverage all those assets together so that people start to understand, I'm going downtown in DC because I know some cool shit's going on.
Eileen, I love it. Your energy is always infectious. Building Museum is such an amazing and treasured institution. And I think all three of you have touched on sort of this need to bring people and really focus on more people to enhance the vitality and viability of our downtown community. I want to shift a little bit and talk about bringing more residential into downtown. So we know the mayor had set a goal in her comeback plan to bring 15,000 new residents to downtown by 2028. We know that office to residential conversions are a path to help make some of that happen. And I know our mayor knows that DC leads the country right now in office to residential conversions. McLean, you are engaged in managing 2 conversion projects right now in downtown. We want to know what makes the particular conversions that you're invested in special, what made you choose to invest in downtown, and what has the success and challenge been like for you so far?
Absolutely. So Yes, I'm the development manager of both 1313 L Street, which is an office residential conversion that's going to be opening stores here in June. It's 222 units. It's very special. We purchased the building in 2019. It's the old NAEYC building. And we just saw back in 2019 a great need for residential downtown. It's a place that people want to live, but there's not a lot of options. A lot of young professionals that work long hours and want to step out the doorstep and be very close to the office. And then even back in 2021, we actually doubled down and purchased 1125 15th Street and decided we want to, and even in a post-COVID world, own another office building and convert another building to residential. This building, 1125 15th, we're really excited about because we are applying to the Housing in Downtown tax abatement program and hoping to start construction in September. It'll be more amenitized and larger units than 1313 L Street, and both projects will be unique and exciting in their own way. But yeah, we're really excited about both of them and residents living in downtown.
That's incredibly exciting. I had a chance to do a preview tour with you at 1313 L Street. It's really coming together nicely. And I know you already have some interest in leasing activity that's happening there, so that's really promising. And I appreciate you mentioning the housing in downtown tax abatement. We've heard it said earlier from some of our prior panelists and Councilmember McDuffie. These tools are really important. I want to hear from you as a developer who's in this space. How much does that move the needle, or how much does it pique your interest in looking at other spaces for potential conversion opportunity?
Absolutely. So the housing in downtown tax abatement program is very helpful for developers in looking and acquiring future buildings. For us running the numbers, it seems like you need at least for our conversion at 15th Street, we need at least probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of our residential taxes abated in order to make the program worth it for us to have affordable housing. We're unique in that we're in the D zone and we are not required to have affordable housing at this time, but we will have it if we pursue it and get into the program. Other office buildings, such as ones more closer to DuPont, those areas in the MU zone, they are already required to have affordable housing. So that it's even more worth it for them. The numbers pencil out that way, so where it's extremely helpful. But there's other things that can help us. For instance, when we bought these office buildings, we're still taxed at the commercial rate, which is over double what residential buildings are taxed at. So that's another thing, for instance, that could help developers. As soon as you purchase an office building and you are going to convert it to residential, being taxed at that residential rate would help a lot and save multi-million dollars in our budgets.
I see a couple of folks in the room who are engaged in the space taking notes, so that's really helpful. Your lived experiences and feedback throughout this process is really helpful as we're thinking about other projects that are coming down the line, so thank you so much for that. I think from time check, I'm being told we have one more question, so I'm going to do one sort of question just to close us out here. And I always love to ask the magic wand question, so I'm going to pose it to all of our panelists here. If there was a magic wand that you could wave to have one big idea just come into effect right away that you think would benefit downtown, we want to hear your vision. We want to hear your big idea. What would be your one thing?
I got it.
Oh, Eileen, we'll start right with you.
I would say at the top there, I can't understate Chinatown as it's like, just think about the word, the brand, the idea. It is a built-in, you go to San Francisco, you go to Chinatown, you go to my hometown, New York, you go to Chinatown, not necessarily even because you know exactly what you're doing, but because you know there's something cool going on there. So I think and now I just got to do a own shameless plug, you leverage the power of Shack. And that everyone's excited about it. And the green lawn of the National Building Museum. And I have 3 words for you: Asian night market. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Love it.
Waving the magic wand, I don't know. I mean, the GSA and the GAO let go of the Department of Labor, the GAO headquarters building, and the FBI headquarters, and we could produce 15,000 units in Gallery Place alone, opening up lots of other opportunities for downtown.
Love.
Yes.
I wonder who could influence that.
I wonder. Monica, big idea, magic wand idea.
I think it would build off of what I was talking about at the mall. I would love to see a pedestrian promenade from the mall all the way to the convention center on all the right streets and all the right ways, just to bring people and greenery up into downtown.
I love it. I heard some amens and hallelujahs of the congregation here. Love that idea. McLean, we'll close out with you. What's your big magic wand idea?
If I could have anything be done, it would be, have the office occupancy up above 90% and have downtown filled in.
Yes.
Can I just put in a shameless plug too,
Please.
since you started that?
Yeah.
So on Saturday, is that 2 days from now,
right.
from 10 to noon, we're going to be sharing some of the big ideas that the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force has come up with and kind of vision concepts. So I just want to, it's a public event, open. It's going to be at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. We're going to tape it. So if you can't make it on Saturday morning, then you can also take a look at it. But we're just at the beginning here, and I'm really excited for what is going to be revealed both on Saturday, but then the work that's going to follow from that.
Deputy Mayor, thank you for sharing that. I will tell you, you do not want to miss that conversation and that presentation. There's a lot to be excited about for the future of Chinatown Gallery Place and a lot to be excited about for the future of Downtown DC. I think that concludes our panel. Can we give a big round of applause for our panelists? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. And I believe we now have a special guest, so we're going to clear the stage here and we will hear from our next guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage three-time elected mayor, DC native, Ward 4 resident, and Miranda's mom, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, greetings, everyone. I am just really delighted to be here today. I want to acknowledge the entire team at the Downtown BID, led by Gerren Price. Please give them a big round of applause. I want to acknowledge the board chair, Michael McCarthy, the entire board of directors, and the outstanding team at the DC BID. I have had the opportunity to read this report, and it's an outstanding document that builds on the outstanding work that the BID and the Golden Triangle BID concluded at the end of last year. I asked Leona and I asked Gerren to lead our DC action work, and I would say they overproduced. They asked for a couple of more months to work on it, and I would say they completed the assignment in the way that we thought. We asked them to be comprehensive, to develop actionable items, to develop a budget in time. I should say budget recommendations in time for the budget season, and to go with us around the city, around the downtown, around the Wilson building, to talk about just how important it is for us to have a vibrant and growing downtown. And I just want to emphasize these points again, because we know in policy making and budget making, there are priorities that have to be set and there are trade-offs that have to be made. That's just the way it is. And I know when I look back on my tenure and the types of investments that we have been able to make in all 8 wards, I think we all can be proud of that. I was reading an article, I think this morning, talking about the investments in downtown versus investments everywhere else. That's a dangerous argument, isn't it? Because when we invested $900 million in the last 10 years at Congress Heights to build a practice facility, to build a new hospital, to bring a library, to bring Whitman Walker to Ward 8, no one said we're spending $900 million in Congress Heights versus everywhere else. When we invested in Walter Reed, when we invested in Chinatown for the last 25 years, it wasn't a question of are we going to do this versus everything else. The truth is we have to do it all. And in a city like Washington, D.C., we can do it all. But I submit to you that we can't always do it all at the same time. And so this year, with this budget, we were very specific and strategic in the investments that we have proposed to the Council of the District of Columbia. And this is the year for us doubling down in public safety, public schools, in the downtown. And it should be obvious, but we should say it anyway, that if we see our values slide in the downtown, we can't invest in Ward 7 and Ward 8 and all of the wards of the District of Columbia. So it's very important for us to do all that government can do to stabilize the downtown, to work with Chief Smith. Don't we have an outstanding chief in Metropolitan Police Department? I didn't know when I appointed Chief Smith that she was going to be a part of the economic development team. But she is, proactively. And she came to me and she said, Mary, this is what we can do. This is what we want to do. And this is what we're going to do, whether it's working with our retailers hand in hand, which she and the team does. I don't know if you got a chance to talk about the outstanding work that MPD is doing. You don't always see them. Sometimes it's undercover and covert, as it should be, but we see the results. And that's an important message that we're going to take to our retailers, whether they're grocers or the CVS or the Walgreens, that we are serious about having our retailers serve all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. Our public education investments are also economic development investments. And one of the big and new investments is in our advanced technical centers. It is important for us to be able to say that our graduates and people that come to the District of Columbia are ready for the jobs we can recreate. One of our big differentiators and advantages is the talent that we have in Washington, D.C., the talent we attract and the talent we retain. So we want to keep investing in a great public school system, and we should be proud of our public school system. Unlike many public school systems in the region, our public school system is growing. Our population has rebounded faster. Our achievement levels have rebounded faster than most urban school districts. And our graduation rates are improving the way we promised 15 years ago when we invested in the transformation of public schools in the district. And we should also feel good about the bounce. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bounce. I'm feeling a bounce in energy in the downtown. I'm seeing more people. I'm seeing more traffic. I'm seeing more people on the metro. We're seeing thousands of people go to our arena, and I'm very, very pleased. Aren't we pleased that we're going to have the Capitals and the Wizards in Washington, D.C. at least until 2050? And then I am just also grateful for the partnership that we have with Councilmember McDuffie, with the members of the council who also have a tough job. When budgets are tight, now, many people in this room have been around for a long time, and so you know that we have participated in robust growth for the last 15 or more years, last 17 years. I was on the council, Phil was on the council when we had the last downturn. The mayor was Adrian Fenty. And even then we made tough decisions. But since then we've been growing, and we've been growing fast. And so now is a year for us not to get weak in the knees, because we've had all those years of really robust growth. But it is time for us to tighten our belts and to think big. What I loved about the previous panel, from what I heard, was people in times like this, the people who are smart and the people who will make the most money are the people who see opportunity right now. And I know that in our property owner community, development community, retail community, arts and culture, sports communities, people have looked to Washington, D.C. as a great place and a good bet. And I can say with confidence that Washington, D.C. is a great place and a good bet in 2024. So we're going to work together. Count on us as your partners, and we're counting on you in this time to help us maintain a bold vision and big investments in downtown D.C., which is ultimately an investment in 700,000 D.C. residents, keeping their property taxes competitive, keeping their income taxes down, and allowing us to attract and retain families in Washington, D.C. So thank you to the BID, and thank you all.
Can we just give one more round of applause to Mayor Muriel Bowser? Thank you so much, Mayor Bowser, and thank you all for your attendance today. We are so excited to have you. Again, you can access our State of Downtown report at our website, DowntownDC.org. And again, we are so excited. We are back in the game. We're going to continue to work together, and we're going to keep on winning. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day.